Welcome fourth grade to Science at Home. So last class we talked about photosynthesis and I challenged you to do a little bit of an experiment at home. So I've got my pothos plant here and I have to be honest about something. I realized the one thing I wasn't doing with it inside is it wasn't getting sunlight. So today I brought it out into the sun because it was a very sunny day. It's actually Mother's Day today as I'm filming this. It's the evening. Yeah, you can't see them from your angle. I can see them. Let me see if I can get the right angle and the lighting on here. Anyway, I see a lot of water droplets all along here, this whole area. So yeah, it's not coming up as well. Maybe if I change the angle of my computer with the way the light shines on it. Okay, maybe now you can see it. See all those water droplets on there? Okay, so again, I just wanted to prove to you that the plants breathe, and part of their breathing is they will breathe out water vapor. So we have these water droplets got captured in here. So water vapor, again, the word vapor means it's water droplets that are in the air. So we don't actually see it, but we might feel it. We feel it as humidity on really hot and humid days. Well, I'm going to let my plant breathe a little bit better now. It's probably happy it's no longer in the bag. So please, if you did do the experiment at home, release the plant, release it, let it go back. Okay, so today we're going to be doing pollination and parts of a flower. So I have a whole bouquet of flowers here, lots of flowers. And we're going to take a closer look at this flower here because it's really easy to see the parts of the flower. And I asked my daughter if she could pick up some lilies for me as well because we've got some parts there. But what happens when you pick them up from the florist, they take away one of the parts. Right at the end here, they take away a part there because that's what has all the pollen and that's what makes people sneeze a lot. But I have one that's just opening, so we've got some of those parts there. So I'm deliberately not telling you the part just yet because we are going to draw that in our notebooks as we go through our PowerPoint presentation. So what you're going to need today will be your notebook. Please put the heading, parts of a flower, a pencil, a couple of crayons if you want to add color. Okay, and I suggest crayons over magic marker because the magic marker sometimes bleeds through to another page. Yeah, that's all you're going to need. I will be holding up samples of the flowers and I'll show you how to fill in your notebook. Now at the end of the lesson, I would also like you to do the reading of Newsella and answer 4 questions on Google Docs. So again, all of this is going to be presented instead of as an I can statement. It's going to be on the first slide of the presentation. So today we will label the parts of a flower. We'll actually draw it in our notebooks. Observe the parts of a living flower. I have a couple of examples. Read a Newsella article about pollinators. I've attached a link in Google Classroom. And answer 4 questions about pollinators. So most of the questions will be related to the Newsella article. And I'm going to ask you to answer them in a Google Doc. So right here you see a picture of several different types of flowers. Okay, but this is the one we're going to try to draw. Now in the classroom, I actually drew this on the smartboard. I want you to try your best in your notebook. Okay, it doesn't have to be exactly like that, but we'll go through labeling the different parts of it. And I'm drawing it in my notebook too. And if you want, you can add some color, but I do recommend we start with the whole thing being in pencil first. So if you make any changes, you can always erase. Always erase. So again, you might want to hit pause while you finish drawing this picture. So here's my drawing. Okay. I'm going to add a little color to it right now. I'm going to add a little color, very similar to some of the color that's up there. I haven't drawn any of the lines to label anything yet, but I will add some color. So I've added some color. Now, I recommend that you do it with colored pencil or crayon, not marker, because it bleeds through on the other side. And you'll see that I already have one part labeled. Okay, so now I am going to draw an arrow. And that's the petal. That's the petal. Why do flowers have petals? Well, flowers have petals to attract pollinators. So this is going to be the link as to why I have you reading the Newsella article. Okay, petals come in many different shapes, colors, sizes. The whole reason is so that they will attract pollinators. Pollinators can be butterflies, they can be bees, they can even be fruit bats. Okay, and hummingbirds are also pollinators. So you're going to read more about that in the Newsella article, but we're going to continue to label the parts of our flower. Okay, so the whole purpose of a flower for a plant, by the way, is so that it will reproduce seeds. The flower wants to grow another generation of flowers. So we have boy parts and girl parts. Okay, so the stamen, and you'll see I have that labeled right here, stamen are the male parts, and there's actually two parts within it. So these long, thin lines that I show here, it's called the filament. And then right at the end, we call that the anther. So could you please draw arrows and label those parts? So I'm going to show you after I label the anther and filament. I want you to make this symbol that I can't do on the PowerPoint, but I would have done if we had the smartboard. Okay, I want you to somehow point out that they are together and that they make up the stamen. So I'm going to show you what I just did in my notes. Okay, I want that little bracket symbol or whatever connecting both the anther and the filament to show that they are together to be the boy parts, the stamen. Okay. Now, not all flowers have them looking like this. So I'm going to share a picture with you now. Okay, so over here, very much like our drawing, this is actually of a lily. So this is the filament. These long, thin green parts here, these are the filament. And right there on the ends, that's the anther. Okay. So right here, I was saying that the florists, they tend to take those off because that's the dusty part. That's the part that makes people sneeze. That's where all the pollen is. Okay, now on this flower, you see it very different. They're all around down here, but again, they have little filaments as well. That's the thin lines. Then the anther are these little yellow puffs that you see on the end. That is the boy or the male part of the flower. The pistil is the female part. The pistil sticks up much higher above the stamen. See that here too. The pistil is high above the stamen. Now we're going to label, there's 3 parts to the female part of the flower. Okay, so we have this very tippy top. It's called the stigma. The stigma is very sticky. The style is a long tube that goes from the stigma down to the ovule. The ovule is where the seed forms. Now, some plants, like fruit plants, this is where the fruit would start too. Be it an orange or an apple, then inside of it, it still keeps the seeds. Okay, so we're going to label these parts and look at where the arrows draw. The very tippy top is stigma, the style is the tube, and the ovule is this. Kind of like it looks hollow. That's the way I drew it. That's where the seed will form. And just like I did on the other side, I want you to somehow draw a symbol. Shows the three of them together. And then write pistil. Okay? But we're not done. We're not done. Okay? So I'm actually going to have to move my picture. Oops. I was going to move my picture. I'm still going to move my picture. There we go. Okay, so I was mentioning that the stigma at the end of the pistil is sticky. It's right up here. It's very sticky. And what you can already see stuck on this one are little pieces of pollen. This comes from the anther. The pollen comes from the anther. And this is where it's really important to have birds, bees, bats, butterflies, because this pollen will stick to them from another flower and they get dropped off on this flower as they're coming to get nectar. And then the plant can hopefully produce seeds. So we have one more part we still want to label. Right here, sepal. That's these tiny little leaves. They're very different from photosynthesis leaves of the plant. Okay, just these little leaves. So let's make sure you mention them. They're called the sepal. And the purpose for them is they actually protect the bud before the flower emerges. Okay, they protect the bud before the flower emerges. So in case you couldn't see my sample notebook in that little screen, I thought I'd hold it up here at the end of the whole presentation if you want to check anything. Of course, your colors can be different. It's totally fine. We're just trying to do our best. So I want to show you the parts of the flower up close. I'm going to pull down a petal so we can get a closer look in there. Right here is the stamen. Okay, there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them surrounding the pistil. Okay, the pistil's up higher. Let me hold this all up higher. Okay, so with the stamen, we've got these long tubes. Those are the filaments that the anther, and there's little yellow round ones all around here, sit on top of. And then the pistil, which is the female part, has very sticky ends. And actually, I don't know if you can see it there, but you can see like little, almost looks like a water droplet on the end there. It's very sticky. The style. And at the bottom is where the seed would form, right down here. So I have another one of the same plant, and I want to show you. The petals had already fallen off of this one. And the reason the petals fell off is because it's already producing seeds. Look how much fatter it is. So it doesn't need the petals anymore. It doesn't need to attract pollinators anymore because it's producing seeds in the bottom there. So I have another flower, a lily. So with the lily, when you get them from a florist, they've already taken off the anthers. So here are the filaments, but no anthers on the end. Okay, and in the center here is the pistil, and this is stigma, very sticky on the end. But I've got one up here that's just now starting to open, so they have not taken off the anthers. Okay, but when you do, when it's mature, it's going to be dusty, and that's where the pollen comes from that makes people sneeze, and that's why florists will tend to take them off. So that's it for the presentation. So let's think about what was on that first slide. Very similar to our I can statements. So, can you label the parts of a flower? If you followed through this presentation and did in your notebook, you can, and you did. Can you observe the parts of a flower? Like when I show them to you? Well, again, if you watch this presentation, you could do that, and you did. Okay, I showed you 2 different flowers. So now, this is up to you. Okay, I can read a Newsella article about pollinators. I believe you can. I will make another quick, short video if you're not familiar with how to get onto Newsella and how to change the reading level or to choose it in Spanish. I will show you how to do that. I will have a how to use Newsella video if you need help with that. But I believe you can. You can do that too. And the last thing after all of that is to answer 4 questions on a Google Doc about pollinators. And I think you can do that too. So great job, everyone.